way you are helping these guys is doing this. So if you're leaving and you see somebody outside, don't feel like I'm going that way anyway, I'm gonna give them a ride, or I'll meet you later and we'll talk about like what's going on. These guys are also connected to Access and other services that will be able to sort of help them. And that's not, I mean, I've had to do that, where I drop somebody off and I just know that it's gonna be a hard day for them, and I know them well now. And it's just hard, it's a hard thing to do, knowing that you're letting somebody go and you're not doing more. But this is what it is that you're doing, and so feel comfortable knowing that you're doing what you can do to show love, grace, and hope to that person. And that's very important and very meaningful. But all of us, I think, at some point will feel like this, I wish I could do more, or I'm tempted to do a thing. So rides, money, you know, meeting that somebody up later at Starbucks or whatever to talk about sort of other things. It's just best to not do that, even though you might feel a tug to do that. If you're concerned about something, like a specific thing, put it in the logbook. And so then that can be followed up. These guys can let us know. We can follow that up. You know, if somebody has an additional need or they're really just struggling. I just see Mark is struggling the last couple of nights and I think he needs a little bit extra. Mobile Crisis can reach out. That we can up some other supports to that. So that's one of the things. And then the other thing is farther on, there's a whole couple of pages that talk about different mental health issues. And you don't need to become a mental health professional or a paraprofessional. What you're doing is you're offering sort of lay neighbor help. It's just real relational help. If something is worrying you, reach out and get some help for that. That's why Mobile Crisis exists. And so it doesn't have to be on fire for you to say, hey, there's like Mark is struggling, I'm not sure what that's about, but it seems pretty off and I'm a little worried about him. And then whether it's, you know, Tammy or, you know, somebody, the site coordinator sort of said, yeah, we'll make a note and we'll let them know in the morning, or no, we should probably call them now. Like that decision can get walked through. So don't feel, it's in there, but don't feel like you have to memorize it and become great diagnosticians all of a sudden. What really is important is on page, two things I just want to point out. And we won't go through all of them, but just, it says de-escalation techniques, and mostly you've heard about what this is. So this is you don't feel like you have to arm yourselves for bear here, but mostly what goes on and what is helpful, and the people who are running shelters with 30 to 35 people, this is what they do. It's really just about good listening. Like letting a person talk, not arguing with them, taking a little bit of letting them vent themselves a little bit if that's what they're needed, if that's what they need, agreeing with what you can agree with, apologizing for, and you don't have to apologize for anything other than saying, I'm really sorry that you've experienced this, or I'm really sorry that you're having this kind of day. That simple, just calm, relational space with a person is really what it really does make the difference. And so, you know, I told you in Lansdale they called the police twice, I think, in 17 years. This is the experience of Code Blues. The people are welcome. The fact that they're welcome means all the world to them. And if I'm struggling and you listen to me, and you don't argue with me, you don't fight with me, you don't say, you know, if you don't cut that out now, you have to leave. Like just a calm response really just lets it sort of right size itself. Go ahead.
What would an appropriate response be if one person asked one of us for money?
Yeah, I would just say I don't have money. I'm sorry, but I can't give you that money. There's a guy in Pottstown who asks me for $2 every single time I see him, and this has been 3 years running. I'm like, Robert, I don't have any money, and I actually don't carry money, so that I'm not making a decision whether to give you what's in my pocket. Or I just don't put it in my pocket. So, I just make it simple. I'm sorry, but I can't give you money. And usually, like you know, like with Robert, you know, he'll just say, you can't blame a guy for trying. No, and I don't, right? Like, and so I don't take it personally, right? And so it's just like, this is how he survived. You don't get it if you don't ask. And the answer might be no, I feel badly about it, but that person has moved on to the next, you know, to sort of the next thing. I'm just trying to get my needs met, and so I'm going to ask. The reason I hesitated for just a second is sometimes depending on the situation, I don't draw it out, and I'll say, no, I can't do that. And then if there is a thing that I think is for good in the conversation, like, what do you need money for? Like, sometimes it's just I need a couple bucks to get into my day. But if I'm struggling, like I need a new pair of boots or something like that, then it's, oh, let me pass that along to people, because I'm sure that there's people who can meet that can help you meet that need. So I don't do that every single time. If somebody's just casually asking me for money, then yeah, I don't have money. I usually, when I'm out and about, I carry things that I can give. So I have snacks, I have hand warmers, I have hats, and say, I don't have money, but here's what I do have. Is there anything here that you would like? You're giving them things to leave with, and so there's a tangible thing that you're offering to them. You just don't offer them money.
And we do have, we'll have their, what I call a hygiene kit.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
Yep.
right, that has a toothpaste and a toothbrush and a little deodorant and hand warmers and chapstick and socks in it. And it's always interesting because we've had the same 3 guys, and every so often I'll look in the bag and I say, oh, another one went. Like, so I think volunteers offer them, and every other day they take that. And so that's the kind of thing you can say, I have this.
Yeah.
You know, would this be helpful? And I will say, you know, this is our pilot year doing this, because a lot of other shelters do have clothing closets or, you know, this, like other kind of resources. And so for us, I think that'll be the conversation we have over the summer, is there anything else we can do beyond warm?
Yeah.
But this winter, it's just warm.
So, and then even in, like, so if somebody were to say, you know, I'm trying to get a coat, or I'm trying to get something, if that's noted, the street outreach team can follow up with that, and they gear people up to be outside. Go ahead.
So that logbook is important.
And you'll have 5 hours to read it. I'm always saying, this is a fun 10 minutes to read through everybody's logs.
Go ahead.
So.
You mentioned that all of these gentlemen are connected to Access. Now, if we get someone who is not, somebody off the street who is new, they'll be filling out the form, but I assume that you will then make an effort to connect with
Sure.
them.
And that's one of the things that Commissioner Kramer has been the most helpful with, right, is that, you know, I let her know, and Tammy will let her know anytime somebody new comes. And then she does that kind of work for us to contact Street Outreach and just sort of say, do you know this person? How are you connected to them? And so, because sometimes, you know, the libraries know about us, and so sometimes they'll send somebody to us, and then we follow up and make sure they're connected to Street Outreach as well.
And so every day, Street Outreach gets a list of people. I mean, there's people becoming homeless every day. So they get that list and they go out to find them. So if you discover somebody and you say, hey, are you connected to services, or are you connected to Street Outreach program? And they say, no, I'm not. And say, we would like to connect you to that. And then, and as you said, like there's some background work that's happening to make that happen. But Street Out, that's their gig. Like they go find people and say with them, how did you get out here? What's going on? What do you need right now? Can we enroll you for the services that you're eligible for? There's a waiting list for every single service in Montgomery County. So, but if we enroll you, then we're going to stick with you and help you out while you're still outside. Just one other thing related to this, because we were talking about sort of de-escalation, we're talking about the boundary thing and everything. If Mark shows up sort of, I just don't see myself, maybe I drank today, maybe, you know, I just seem a little bit off. Again, the rule is Mark's not bringing drugs and alcohol in. And I'm signing that I know that. And if you find it, then Mark's going to leave. So there's that part. But if I'm showing up and I'm a little bit off, the decision point is, can Mark come in, lay down, and sleep? So the story I tell is one of the first nights of Pottstown Beacon of Hope's being open. there was a guy named John that was outside of a store in Pottstown. Everyone knew him, and he drank a lot, and everybody knew that, and people were worried about him. So Tom, and it was bitterly cold weather, Tom, who was the executive director of Pottstown Beacon, went and found John and said, man, you are really drunk. You should not be outside because it's dangerous to be this drunk in this weather outside. Please come into the shelter. And the guy did, because he was invited in. And there was no, like, he just went and slept on a cot and got up in the morning, like everybody else did. And so it's not my condition, it's my behavior. If I can enter into a safe space with you, the goal of the Wesley shelter space is that it's a safe and welcoming space. And so if Mark can come in off the street and participate in that, then Mark is welcome, right? So if I, I'm talking to myself or I'm behaving some, weird way, the question for you guys is just when we talk to Mark, we look at Mark, he seems to be like he can go lay down on a cot and sleep like everybody else. Or I lay quietly awake for a while, or I talk to myself for a while, but that's okay. Right? And that has worked well. I mean, the shelters who have been running for a while have all of those people who make their way in. And even if I can't tell you because I seem to be unwell, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be inside. So that's it, I think. Yeah.
And
Any last words for you guys?
I do. I think the glory of this is we're not doing this alone. Look around you. Look at the support network. Think of the township. Think of the churches. Think of the police department. Think of all the Montgomery County resources. Christ, we're not doing this alone. And so if we encounter anything, we do it with a ton of support behind us. And so we go forth in grace knowing that.
Yep.
Thank you. Seriously.
Thank you guys. This is awesome.